Super Melvin, 7 legs on par. Don't worry about my tone of voice. I just woke up at like 2 in the afternoon and have enough sand in my eyes to make a Zen garden. Give me a sec, I need to wash my face. Okay, I'm back. Turns out I had the shit too. So glad I got that out of my system. It's gonna be a fun time cleaning my sink. Anyway, this game is fucking awesome. I mean, why wouldn't it be? It's just a one-to-one remake with no missing features that also happens to add on to an extra charm, quality of life changes, and more game mechanics that make a blast from the past a better experience, right? Hey, get that off the screen! It's one thing to keep the nostalgia glasses on, it's another thing to fucking lie to people like that. I mean, the game's not bad. I love Gen 4. It's just... What the fuck was I talking about again? Oh, right, the Mark video game. So for everyone who's been living under a sock, if you don't know who Mario is, pick up a fucking video game. As for what the 7 legs entails, Super Mario RPG Legend of the 7 Stars is a one-to-one HD remake of the Super NES game under the same name. Yep, we're dealing with nostalgia again, ladies and gentlemen, but not in the Green Hill type of deal where it's like, this again? No. This is the nostalgia we were actually begging for. You think I'm being facetious, but no, this game is a pretty big fucking deal. Just wish people would remember more than just the funny wooden man that I'm extremely curious as to how to properly pronounce his real name. I mean, the closest I got to pronouncing his name was going... But hey, your guess is as good as mine. Anyway, we start the game with our friend without benefits, Princess Toadstool Peach, getting captured once again. At this point, you gotta wonder what the hell is Bowser's motivation this time, because, like, on one hand, he would do better killing her to usurp the throne. On the other hand, marriage, but... At this point, it's either he's a cold-blooded monster or he's a massive simp. Like, you pick whatever motivation you want. At this point, I'm just convinced that he's doing this for the shits and giggles, like... Well, I'm bored. I'm gonna go fight Mario. Hey, Peach, do you want to come over to my castle? I know he'll come running to you. You try looking me in the eye and telling me that Mario and Bowser don't have a Batman and Joker relationship. And Peach is in on it because I guess she's also bored and loves shipping people. They hate each other, but they also want to fuck each other. Can somebody glue me to my fucking post so that way I stop getting off track? So in the Great Hall of the Justice League, Mario fights his way into the castle and then gets to the throne, which you really gotta appreciate how they make it look like an actual chair compared to how it looked on the SNES. Bowser, how the hell do you sit on that thing? But right now we got more pressing issues, like Mario just now learning how to look up. So as Peach is getting strung up by her wrist, seriously, there's no rope around her waist, Bowser decides to relish in his victory, but also forget that Mario knows how to fucking jump. I'm not saying he knows how to jump. I mean he knows how to fucking jump. Like, he doesn't fly, he jump good. As we commence the fight, Peach is telling us, "Don't let Bowser bruise you, Mario!" Which, I mean, hey, Mario's the tough cookie, so I guess the worst that he would have to deal with from Bowser is not third-degree burns, but bruises. I'm certain Bowser was supposed to shoot spikes at me from his back like in the SNES game, but I got a little bit overzealous in this fight and beat him early. So while I'm giggling at my favorite Mario pun to date, the Chandelier, very fun name change, I like that. You really can't tell if it's supposed to be a pun on Chandelier or if it's the next big Stephen King movie, loses its grip after I finish wailing on its coccyx. Look, you try telling me that that's not a tailbone. I'm convinced that these chains are part of their anatomy at this point. And Bowser, being the genius that he is, decides to jump on the chandelier that the chandelier is holding. Our villain, ladies and gentlemen. Well, no, I can't even say that because, spoiler alert, he's not the villain. No! Yeah, to anyone who's played the SNES game, that's not really a big twist, but to anyone who's just for the first time picking this up and never heard of the SNES game, then you're in for a real treat, so buckle up! And if you never heard of either of these games, but for some reason hopped onto my video, then what the fuck are you doing here? Pick up the game already! And then come back here. Don't worry, you're always welcome here. Love you. Bowser goes careening down. He throws a hammer up here and takes me with him. Somehow gravity decides to let me fall faster, so I caught up with Bowser after he starts falling for a longer period of time. Mario jumps off of his back to get a boost to reach Peach, while I leave him to fall down and break his neck. Shriek, Mario, shriek! The castle starts shaking, and then suddenly a really big Schward comes down and fucks the castle. Not before saying a big howdy you do to the giant star that just happens to be hovering over Bowser. Roll credits! Team Rocket is blasting off again. Mario is sent back home to think about what he's done. Toad decides to get smart with him and then walks back out. Well, fuck you too, I guess, for leaving me here on the hangar. You know, I only just now realized I'm kind of sad that they changed Pipe House to Mario House. I always had this ongoing joke with Mario RPG where there was a translation error with Mario's name, so he's just called Pipe in Japan. They must have been in the big hurry to change the sign though, because why does it just say Mario House and not Mario's house? That apostrophe is doing God's work and you're just ignoring him. You know, I'm very certain I'm forgetting something, but I can't quite put my finger on it. Oh, right, the plot. So now it's just now dawning on me that Peach was supposed to be here at Mario's place. I guess there was just a flower breed that only Mario knows how to make. Let it go, Classy. If you keep questioning things, you're gonna be here all day. He tries to talk to Toad, and only now does he point out that Mario doesn't really talk in these games. Don't worry, we'll see some good pantomiming later. It would have been really hilarious, though, if Mario did talk through these games. Like, holy shit, Toad, you should have seen it. So anyway, there it was, and there was Bowser, and then, I got to go back, don't I? Okay, I'll be back. Mamma mia, I don't get paid enough for this shit. Back at Castle Gayskull, we see the sword, and it's talking to us now, and they tell us that they have big plans. The Smithy Gang, they refer to themselves as. You hear me playing the pronoun game, but there are literally multiple people. This is a gang we're dealing with. The sword aggressively shoots and busts the path to Bowser's Keep, so now the castle is off limits. Mario barely makes it out alive, looks at the castle from a nearby cliff, and then, oh, for fuck's sake, it's never easy with you guys! Mario goes back to his place and recounts the tale about how he nearly fucking died trying to get to the castle to Toad. So now we gotta go back to the Mushroom Kingdom to tell the Chancellor about how their princess is pretty much trapped now. And the almighty Mario can't do shit because that is way too big of a jump for him to make. I know they call me Jumpman for a reason, but I can only jump 16 feet up in the air, not 600 feet in the air! Or 6,000,000, 6,000, I don't really know. I am not really a math guy. Toad then decides to break my nose because he gets jumped by a few Goombas. He then tells me how to play the game after I politely say no to what I thought he was asking me if he wants to tell me how to do the moves, but instead he was asking me if I know about them. Look, it's not my fault that every freaking game they switch the question. We'll chalk that up to just me not knowing how to read. We fight our way through some monsters and then Mario looks awkward as hell not doing a peace sign. Get off of your fucking flower! The path is blocked by a hammer brother. Oh yeah, and Toad's there too, I guess. Mario throws a bit of hands. The brothers throw a bit of hammers. I win. Toad then decides to rob from a corpse and then give me the hammer. Okay, listen here, Toad. It's bad enough that my brother goes grave digging. Now you? We make it to the city of Townsville and then the Mushroom Castle. You know, I'm really happy that they made this frog coin easier to get now. So we explained to the Chancellor everything about how Bowser is a bad guy and then Peach does her best police siren impression. The Chancellor tells us to go to Bowser's Keep. Only one problem. We already did. And now we can't go back. Well, that sucks. Do what you can for right now, Mario. Mario then takes his leave, and then the Chancellor decides to stop me in my tracks, asking me if I know how to equip my items. As I was saying, Mario takes his leave, and then... Oh, for fuck's sake, Chancellor! Now, he has a good reason to stop us this time. He tells us about items in the cellar. 3 treasure chests, actually. One that increases our flower points, which, in case if you don't know, flower points are shared across the entire cast, allowing you to cast spells or special attacks. We get a good night rest in the form of a mushroom, filling up our flower points and our health, and we get money! As Mario explores around the castle, Mario finds... Oh. Princess Toadstool, you saucy little minx. Obviously, we're not able to keep that, and Peach's granny decides to stop us from even looking at it. In exchange, she gives us a mushroom. A funny little Easter egg with a funny little benefit. As Mario is leaving the castle, he hears a commotion. A purple lizard with a giant sack is running away from a cloudy-looking individual who seems to be chasing him. He's galactically incapable of even dreaming of keeping up with said lizard, and subsequently eats shit. Upon this failure, he decides to cry about it, and God decides to cry with him. We go up to talk to him, and suddenly he decides to perk up, and also he fucking forgets why he was crying in the first place. He reveals that he was in town to run an errand for his grandpa, and then he remembers that the croc that he was chasing actually stole his money. This random Toad then decides to walk upon us and then ask us how we're gonna deal with Bowser. Naturally, the response from Mario would be to go bing bing wahoo and bounce. The puffy person is then shocked by the revelation that he's talking to Mario and claims that he knows all about him, minus the fact that he knows very little about what he looks like. Afterwards, he reveals that his name is Mallow, and he hails from Tadpole Pond. He claims to be a frog, but apparently he can't jump, and he realizes this too. Now would be a good time to mention that he seems to wield an otherworldly ability to control weather, and weather elements as well, as we'll see soon in the form of his lightning attack. Mallow, use Thunderbolt! I feel like that will be a good time to mention it, and I'm hoping by the fact that he looks like a Nimbus cloud isn't already too big of a giveaway. Mario then decides to help out Mallow by catching this thief. So you know what this means? We got a new party member! As we're about to head out of town, we find that the thief, name is Croco by the way, is already booking it and heading out of town as well. The Toad that we were just talking to also gives us a map so that way we don't get lost. And considering how big this place can get, that is very generous of him. One grinding session and chase sequence later, we finally get Croco cornered and he digs into his sack, making us believe that he's gonna give us back what he stole. But nope, I guess Mario's the silly bitch, so now we're gonna do a fight. So then Mario decides to spit fire at him like, Pah! And now Croco's tail gets set on fire like, yeah! Naturally, he loses a turn because Mario decided to say, "Haha, you got gonorrhea now!" And this will probably be one of the few times that Fireball will actually come in handy. So after we're done spanking him into submission, he then decides to fuck fuck off and give back the coin. But oopsie poopsie, Mushroom Kingdom is under attack now. This time by a bunch of shy guys hopping on pogo sticks. Look, you may be laughing, but have you seen how devastating these fuckers can be when you give them stilts in Yoshi's Island? A pogo stick is just putting them on par with Mario now in the jumping ability department. After rescuing the toad that was standing guard on the Mushroom Kingdom exit, he then decides to pay us for the good deed. What kind of common horde do you take me for, Toad? It's 20 coins now, not 10. Looking all over the place, we'll reveal that everyone is cowering in fear from the attack from the pogo guys. The shopkeep is shitting himself, and this house is getting with a good old shake. We then decide to enter the castle, where it seems to be the source of where all these pogo guys are coming from. Entering Peach's room will actually reveal that a lot more toads are hiding out in here until everything settles. But since we're going to be in a lot of fights, we're probably going to be needing some healing. However, Peach's granny does not approve of us being in Peach's bed, so she decides to just throw a cup of coffee at our face and then hope that rests us up. Look, I don't know what she does, but suddenly we're all healed up and we got our flower points back talking to her, so I'm just gonna assume that's what she did. You don't care about the grinding bit, so I'm just skipping past it. And our bad guy of the hour is Clay Morton. This is the big bad that's sending in all these pogo guys, which now is a good time to mention these aren't just pogo sticks, they're pogo sticks with blades on the tip. Yeah, nah, I could see how that could be pretty frightening, but still, don't underestimate shy guys with stilts. After waltzing in on what is apparently now their territory, even though it was clearly ours, they decide to spit on our face and call us ugly and jump us. So one good old-fashioned ass beating later, the Scrunklies, Mario, and Mallow look up at their spoils of war and demand uppies from the 1 of 7 legendary stars. With our legendary MacGuffin at hand, now we decide to set forth to talking to the Chancellor that we just rescued. He tells us that all of this crap is getting too much to bear, with the fact that not only is the princess missing, but now the kingdom is being attacked. Oh yeah, and also he meets Mallow. Anyway, he tells us to get our shit together and go rescue the princess so that way we can get our bearings together. Mallow also feels indebted to Mario after helping him get his shit together for Crocco's situation. And so of course he's like, let's go back to my place and talk to Grandpa. He knows everything. Oh, and also forgets why he's even in the Mushroom Kingdom in the first place. Alright, I'll stop screwing around. That's actually so that way it reminds the player that Mallow still needs to run his errand. And considering all the shit that's been happening up to this far, can you blame him for forgetting? So he goes back to the shopkeep and he purchases cricket pie, which he's bringing back to his grandpa. Remember, he hails from a family of frogs. Naturally, after all that's happened, the shopkeep reminds him, now Mallow, don't be stupid and get this one stolen too. Okay, I won't. Mallow then takes us to an entrance of a place called Keto Sewers. Very cute, I like that. But before entering, Mallow also warns us of some guy called Belome, whom his grandpa has also warned him about prior. And I just gotta bring this up. I love how they kept this Easter egg in, where if you try to leave the entrance after Mallow already entered the pipe, Mallow will then jump out of the pipe in a hurry and then rejoin you. It's just too funny. I like it. Trekking through the sewers, we get bombarded by enemies such as fish, boos and ghosts, a mimic, and of course the most terrifying enemy of all, 7-foot rats. Rats so long as rats. When he calls your rats, it all fades to rats. One navigation around the sewer later, and we find this Belome fellow. Oh, hey, you must be Belome. You should be careful for this Belome fellow. You know, Grandpa told me, one shit kicking later, and Belome gives us a foreboding warning telling us that he's the only thing stopping the water from flowing. Surely enough, we did not take his warning seriously, and thus water starts flowing. We then get entered into a very interesting minigame here involving going down the waterfall, but also very gorgeous scenery whenever we take the shortcuts. Navigating through this waterfall will be essential because not only will you get down safely, but you'll also get money. Fast forward through the minigame and you get a minigame. This time involving going from barrel to barrel and jumping up to get money. Avoid the little fishies, and if you don't, then they steal your money. Props to this toad for turning a messy situation into a gold mine, because I'm pretty certain this is supposed to be water flooding in from a sewer out of nowhere, but yet he finds a way to make money off of it. Mario keeps the frog coins, he keeps the gold coins. If you don't have enough to trade in for frog coins, then you don't leave completely empty-handed. During the first time talking to him, this toad actually gives you a Koopa shell, which, if you will not believe it, further upgrades your attack points. But hey, I like money, so I'm gonna go back up the waterfall to get some more coins. One coin grind later, and we finally make it to Tadpole Pond. And we also learned that news apparently travels fucking quick here in the frog world. We literally just defeated Belome, and the tadpoles already know about it. And I also love that even they don't know what Super Mario looks like, but they only believe me because I did a flip while I was jumping. And now we introduce our new character. Unfortunately, his name is no longer Frog Fuchsius, but instead he is called the Frog Sage in this game. Yeah, I'm a little bummed out about that too. So we go up to the Frog Sage to talk to him about our situation. He knows about Peach being kidnapped, he knows that Bowser's Keep is is inaccessible now, thanks to Smithy. But not only does he know what we know, but he also knows that Peach is no longer at the keep. That's right, Peach and Bowser both got flown out of the castle along with us. They just got set in different directions. God, listening back to these recordings, my tongue is just getting tied all over. They got different. So Mario, being just as confused and impatient as us, he also wants to know what the heck's going on. So he reveals that both Bowser and the princess are still out there somewhere, and also Smithy's underlings are wreaking havoc along the entire Mushroom Kingdom. Oh yeah, and also I guess the stars will play an important role on beating Smithy, because I guess something about shooting stars granting wishes. Bah, who cares? Let's just assume that they're an important MacGuffin for the time being. We'll learn more about it later. So then Mallow starts getting all sulky about it, and the frogs say, I'm just gonna call him the Frage. The Frage decides to perk him up as saying like, hey, what are you going on about? Boy, you gotta... What if he talked like Master Roshi, actually? Boy, why are you acting all sulky? You know that you're gonna be going with Mario too. And then Marshmallow's all like, but Pop, I'm just a simple tadpole. I can't do this. So wait, not only he thought he was a frog, but he thought he was also a tadpole? That's the baby stage. You shouldn't even have legs. Or, you shouldn't have appendages! Why do you think you're a tadpole? So the Frage decides to nut up or shut up and decides to tell this secret that he's been keeping from Mallow for a long while, that he is not a tadpole. Shock and horror! So then he recounts his tale about how he happened upon Mallow when he was a babby. He was enjoying a snack... You know, after choking up like that, let's just say that. He was just eating. That's it. In all seriousness, he was like having a snack of crickets, and apparently a basket was just floating down the fucking waterfall. That's right. Mallow inside that basket was in a waterfall. Apparently he didn't even name him Mallow. His name literally was just Mallow on his belt when he was a baby. So of course he decided to go on his little Tarzan journey and raise him as one of his own, as a Froge. But apparently even back then he had powerful magic, so this was not just a spur of the moment thing where he just out of nowhere controlled the weather. He's been able to do this. Needless to say, Mallow's a little bit choked up about this. So then the Frage decide to say, shut the fuck up! Go with Mario already and find your mommy and daddy elsewhere! Okay, he doesn't say it that crass, but he does basically tell him an equivalent of nut up or shut up, just saying now's not the time to cry. So now that we got our motivation for the day, the Frage decides to tell us to go to Rosetown, where that's apparently where the plot is for right now. Hold up, I feel like we're forgetting something. Let's talk to the Frage once more. Oh, that's right! The cricket pie that Mallow was out to get. So of course, now he's got his snack, and so now in exchange for the pastry with icky gross baked bugs, Mallow now has the froggy stick, which, thank you, Frog Sage! It beefed up his attack points to a solid 20 points up. Moving right along. We happen upon Bowser, who's just out here in the forest forming his mini army, basically scrounging up what's left of what happened at his castle, which is not much. He's basically got the equivalent of little strands of fries that you find at the bottom of your fast food bag. You'll see what I mean when you see what happens to most of his minions. We arrive at Rosetown, where apparently this place is being attacked too. Not by minions this time, but instead by arrows that are being rained upon from the sky, and these arrows freeze people in place on contact. Somehow, some way, that's just as, if not more terrifying than being brained by an arrow. We happen upon a Toad who is apparently locked out of his house, essentially, because the controls that retract his stairwell to his house is up in his son's room. So we hop on his shoulders, help ourselves to his treasure that's in his house, slip the stairs back out, and then he asks me about the treasures in his room. Whoops. But apparently he's a good sport about it, and instead of asking for the items back, he's very grateful that he didn't get hit by any arrows and decides to tell me a secret, a path that only he knows about that leads to even more treasure. I'll keep that in the back of my mind for when we do enter the forest, but until then, let's enter a random house. Oh, looky, a little toad child playing with Mario dolls. How does merchandising work in the Super Mario universe? Did Mario license his likeness to... too much thought. Apparently Mario doesn't take very kindly to his doll being beaten up like this. Oh, then he's really not gonna like what I did to the doll last week. And sure enough, the child shits himself upon realizing the fact that the real Mario just stumbled upon his house. He fanboys a little bit and also asks him if he wants to play with the dolls. Like a good neighbor, Mario is there. Apparently, since he's already playing as Mario though with the little doll, he decides to let Mario play Bowser instead. As a present tear whore. He also decides that now would be a good time to whip out his OC, Geno, which since this is a doll completely made of scraps of cloth and wood, did he hand make this toy by himself? Or is this like a character from another franchise? Or I'm just gonna assume this is like Child's Play, except instead of a serial killer taking the body of a toy, it's some kind of Star Guardian. Oh shit, sorry, massive spoiler. Back on topic, the Toad and Mario decide to play a little bit, and Mario decides it's a good idea to start roughhousing by shoving the child with the doll. In retaliation, the Toad decides to give Mario a concussion and poke his fucking eyes out. During the night, a dazzling light is actually happening upon the room and is dancing around the dolls, likely finding another host. Eeny, meeny, miny, you, as he settles on the Geno doll. He has a hard time trying to get adjusted to the wooden body that looks like it should be functioning like a rag doll, but surprisingly it functions like limbs. Limbs working like limbs. Jeez, I need to write a script for this. Wakey, wakey, eggs and paralysis, and we go downstairs to find out that the boy knows that Geno got up to walk into the forest maze. But upon hearing this, his mom doesn't exactly take kindly to this, as she assumes that he's probably trying to weasel his way out of another punishment. So as we witness the tale of the boy who cried Geno, we go back outside the house and find out that people are still getting paralyzed by the arrows. And if this isn't a temporary effect, then maybe they've been paralyzed, which, wow, they've been frozen outside for an entire night. And bear in mind, they're not unconscious, they are actually paralyzed. They cannot move and they still have consciousness. So either they fell asleep while they were paralyzed, or they saw Geno but didn't give a shit. Super Mario RPG, it is the only one just for me. When I play the game, I get lost in a phase. Then I find out I'm stuck in Geno's and then my capture card decided to fuck up on me, so unfortunately, I do not have the footage of me meeting Geno, or the rest of the maze for that matter. As a matter of fact, I had beef not only with one technical problem rant later, and now it only hurts when I touch it. So allow me to speed through the forest section real quick. And you know what that means? I'm gonna replay through the whole damn thing just for you guys. Buckle up! And it's Christmas now, hi! You think my procrastinating ass would find a way to finish these videos on time, but asking me to not procrastinate is too much. Back on the tropical freeze now, we're going through the maze and we're following Geno through and through and through. Sorry guys, I just tripped on the ending here. So now that we're here at the end of the maze, we come across this fellow called Bowyer. 997, 998, 999, 1,000. 1,000 arrows! He cackles to himself, talking to his sentient army of arrows. Which, by the way, if it wasn't already obvious enough, yeah, this is a sentient bow. I believe by now you should be picking up the theme about how every single one of your enemies has been sentient weaponry. Earlier it was swords turned into pogo sticks, now it's a living bow. Which, bear in mind, the arrows don't brain you, they just paralyze you. That is still fucking terrifying. The funny thing is, apparently this is him practicing. Imagine the damage he would do if he gave a shit. Mario and Mallow, realizing this threat of the fact that he's just fucking around, Mario tries to rush in to stop him, but Mallow stops him from trying to stop him. So if you're not following, Bowyer is stopping people and Mario's gonna stop him, but Mallow stops him from stopping him. Stop it! I am sad to report that Mallow does forego the Bruce Lee comment. Oh well, at least it's ingrained in history. Anyway, Mallow points out that there's too many of them, so he stops Mario from getting his ass handed to him because there's too many of them to fight. Oh, good heavens, danger approaches! Mario and Mallow go into hiding, and they see that one of the minions is actually carrying one of the stars that we need. Bowyer doesn't seem to be interested in the star in the slightest, actually. In fact, he's more pissed off at the fact that he's being interrupted. Since he's not doing this under anyone's command, is he just an agent of chaos? It's raining Geno, hallelujah! The Geno doll ends up talking to him and says, nay, demands that Bowyer return the star to him. Yet again, Bowyer is not paying interest to the star whatsoever. Instead, he decides to give us his best Yoda impression. Teach you we must. Who's in charge? Even if he doesn't show any interest in the star whatsoever, he's still causing a ruckus, so the toy decides to put up a fight by himself, trying to act all mysterious as well, like, I serve a higher authority. The star piece belongs to everyone. You can't keep it. Bowyer decides to be a piss baby about it and decides to shoot arrows wildly into the sky. Geno decides to drop the facade and just like, dude, can you fucking don't? Speaking of piss babies, Mallow decides that now he's gonna help the dude, since, you know, obviously they all want to take down Bowyer. I don't know what he's being so chicken shit about. He has god powers. But no time to dwell on that now. The arrows are actually flying in their direction. Mario goes speeding off and then bumps the arrow that was about to brain Geno. What is it with this running theme about the fact that people know about Mario, but they don't know what the fuck he looks like? So this guy, Boner, I think his name is very pissed off by the fact that we're not taking him seriously. I mean, I don't know why. He looks like a very threatening villain. He can be a threat, though, if you don't manage your actions properly, actually. Keyword being can be. For he possessed the uncanny ability to break the fourth wall and disable the ability to use your fucking buttons. I hope you bought enough honey syrup. Later on in the fight, he decides enough is enough and decides to disable all of your buttons. Y, X, and A. So Geno decides to cheat and fill up our gauge immediately so that way we can use some kind of special attack. Take this! Triple finish! So the Geno doll decides to come clean and say that, of course, he's not Geno. He's just some kind of Star Guardian person that took over this body to take a physical form. I mean, wouldn't you? He tells us that these star pieces are actually broken pieces of something called the Star Road. Hey, no, I said Star Road, not Rainbow. Because it's broken, wishes cannot be granted anymore. No stars have been made since. So the best way I can nutshellify this is we're collecting bricks to fix a bridge. It sounds lame when you put it that way, but that's essentially what we're doing. And this bitch only needs 7 of them? Shit, I'll get those stars. The spirit does have a real name, but we're unable to pronounce this biblically accurate language in our tongue, so we just call him Geno after the doll. That's what he settled on, that's what what Mario settled on, that's what we all settled on. I had a goofy-ass idea. What if this is how somebody's OC was introduced? Wonderful Whimsy, new party member, and now there's trouble brewing. The one fucking arrow that Bowyer did not shoot is now going back to the higher-up, Smithy, to tell him that these stars are actually more important than they seem. It's been one of those days. Come on, Mallow and Geno. The plot is over there! Next up is Movin. That's that creepy Bowser's laugh. Look! Our antagonistic second banana is here too. Poor dude's going through some tough times because his army looks even smaller than it did last time. He barely even has a gang. Most of the members of the Koopa gang actually disbanded. They went AWOL because of how tough the new guys are. It's actually impressive that the Goombas lasted longer than the Magic Koopas and Koopas. Even hearing about how tough the new guys are, King Bowser Koopa is just all like, I'd sooner eat my fingers! But let's add a C plot while we're at it. Remember the stars that we're collecting that were scattered all over the dang place? Well, it turns out one of them crashed into this fucking mountain and caved it in completely, trapping a family of moles, specifically a father and 2 kids. The mother is fine, relatively speaking, but she's worried about the fact that all she can do is just sit and wait to hear good news from the rescue team. But considering how dense the mountain is, the rescue team of moles are actually incapable of digging through the mountain any further. Man, if only that guy Mario was here. Oh, hey, Mario. Yet again, we're continuing this trend of shoulder hopping. We trek through the cave fighting through hordes of rocks, bob-bombs, fireballs, and— What the fuck is that thing? Alright, I guess some form of crystallized Ditto fused with Kirby, but who cares? Mario, realizing that there's not really any way to progress any further, decides to take a spring and subsequently break his neck. You can tell how hard the mountain is considering that this dude makes a living bashing his head and fist upon bricks, so— Only must be working with Kachin steel. That's strong as hell in Dragon Ball. Holy refights, Batman! Yeah, Croco makes another appearance, this time to exploit the fact that we're unconscious and decides to rob us blind. Any money that you had in your pockets is now in his possession. So needless to say, you need to chase the down again, but funnily enough, you actually need him because he has bombs in his sack so that way he can bust through the walls that are caved in. Actually, Croco, that's not a bomb, that's a bomb. You need to get your facts straight, stupid. Croco is the one that has the coins, but there are benefits to fighting his henchmen. These little goon heads that you're fighting actually have flower tabs on them, so you'll be needing that to increase your flower point count. Whether if you actually kick the shit out of them or if they fuck off, you win the fight, so it's fine. Where's Yoshi? There's Yoshi! I'm kinda sad that he doesn't have that old noise that he used to make back in the day. Like, I love the new Yoshi sound that he makes, but I felt like it just isn't the same without the noise that he makes. That's just me being overly nostalgic, though. Anyway, just wait in one spot for Croco and he'll bump into you eventually. The fight is the same song and dance as usual. Keep spitting fire at him, kick the shit out of him, you know, the usual. Except, if the fight goes on long enough, he'll actually steal your items. One shit kicking later, and Croco hands over not only the coins, but he also drops a micro bomb. We hand it over to the Papa Mole, who of course drops the micro bomb right in front of a pile of rocks that we need to get through. He also tells us that the star that caused the cave-in the first place is probably in the back, but for his safety, we tell him to stay right here, so that way no more moles get trapped behind. I do not want to imagine a Super Mario game with the Resident Evil escort mission type of style. Good day, the name's Nello. Punchinello. Okay, no, he doesn't say that. For whatever reason, he forgoes the James Bond reference and decides to say, the name's Punchinello, bomb maker extraordinaire. I'm assuming because they're afraid to get into any legal issues with MGM over this, but I don't know. It's not explicitly calling him James Bond. Actually, quick little bit of trivia. Apparently back in the ye olden days, translator by the name of Ted Woolsey actually originally wanted to name him James Bomb, which is originally why Punchinello introduces himself in that fashion in the SNES version. But I guess just to avoid all of that completely, they just decided to forego the reference entirely. Listen to me sounding like a Did You Know gaming fact. Did you know Mario is actually Mario? Anyway, back at the task at hand, you fight Punchinello, and the more you start pummeling him, the more desperate he gets, summoning bombs in bigger and bigger sizes. So big, in fact, that he actually had to forego one bomb so that way he can make room for it. And of course, as the fight progresses, as he's nearing the end of his rope, he decides to summon a big fuck-off bomb that subsequently squishes him, thus ending the fight. Everyone, please, a moment of silence for the saddest death you will ever encounter in an RPG game. You didn't lose one of your party members, you didn't lose Mario, you didn't lose Mallow, you didn't lose Geno, but you lost the EXP and coins that you could have won from the fight. He doesn't drop any EXP or coins. It's not fair, man! I worked so hard! One corner crying later. And then she said I wasn't the father! 5 seconds later. Anyway, that big blast from the big giant fuck-off bomb actually knocked the star loose from the wooden boards that it was lodged up in. We're all covered in soot, so the star decides that it was a good idea to give us a shower before we decide to pick it up with our filthy grubby hands. 3 out of 7 now in our possession, but we gotta keep the C-plot progressing, so we find the kids, Dinah and Mite, funny, that were trapped in this cave. And how are we gonna get them out of here? Well, we interrupt Super Mario RPG to bring you Donkey Kong Country. And admittedly, the Mode 7 section of the game is still impressive to look at, in my opinion. Still impressive how this game translates well in 3D. I just have this odd feeling that they'll be dropping in on us any minute now. They still gotta use the door like everyone else, Ma. Now settle down. Oh, hey, Mario. So we bring Dinah and Mike back to their home safely. The parents are thrilled by the fact that we brought them home safely. Surprisingly, they're good sports about the fact that we busted a hole through their damn ceiling. Now, the question remains, where the f is Peach? Just as we're wondering that, 3 sniffsters, or sniffets, whichever one you want to call them, just happen to be in the neighborhood and are chasing down a beetle. A gift for a brother named Booster. Mostly because apparently he sucks ass at trying to catch his own. Come on, man, just get a butterfly net. Live that Animal Crossing lifestyle. As they're attempting to coerce us into giving them the beetle that landed on my head, they let it slip that Booster is keeping a princess that fell from the sky entertained. But we wouldn't know anything about any princesses falling from the sky, would we? Nah, that's stupid.